One is design. What I've learned about organizations is they do how they are designed structurally. And because a job description gives you authority to think about design, most good executives spend their lives working around the formal structure. If you don't get the formal structure right, decision rights, specialization and expertise, it's very hard to get things done. When you do get it right, it just starts working in its own right. Second is about process and operations. BTS are very good at running simulations. It's who gets to make the decision about the operations. For me, that's such a central thing for executives to think about. We think it's about issuing an instruction, when actually it's about building the organizational capability, the process of getting from input to output. The third is to do with something we touched on a bit, which is most work is voluntary from what I can see. You know, when I was a young executive, if you carried a file around the office at the right speed, you could spend the whole day just talking to your mates. Culture is absolutely everything. And the building's on fire, so if we can't energize people now, we're never going to do it. And to do that, you've got to build the relationships. Culture comes from the task, so ad agencies are very different than mines, and you better understand what that means. Secondly, it comes from individuals who set the culture. You were talking a lot tonight about Steinhoff and individuals. I saw research once that said 40% of the value of a Fortune 500 company depends on the single leader. He or she create or destroy the value. It comes from task, what you do, individuals, all of us, and thirdly, it comes from history. That organizations build personalities and ways of thinking that get embedded and are almost invisible until you run into it, and then you realize it's like a wall. Culture comes from history, and so banks or manufacturers or agencies or consulting firms have very different histories. And the fourth lever that I think is very important, we've touched on a lot tonight, is just individual agency. The ability for individuals to create passion, to generate ways of having good ideas, to be able to spot great talent, this leadership role, which I think has three key elements. The first and most boring is just simple managerial skill, how to run a good meeting. I had a friend who ran a big business in Johannesburg who said, meetings are not a legitimate form of work. They will only be held out of office hours. So if you want to have a meeting, it's before 8 or after 5. So just think about that. Managerial skill, putting together a good communication, hosting a good meeting, engaging personally with people, that sort of bureaucratic organization, recognizing in a team who can really make a difference, how. You know, the individual characteristics of the team. The second is just the skill of leading and being in front. I think many of our leaders are way removed from the battlefield. We sit in offices with spreadsheets. Out there, you know, there's a battle going on. And I believe deeply in frontline experience. Go and sell or make the product that's in your business and do it with the people who sell it and make it, and do that often enough. That's why I've always loved Robbie Brosen, because he is more or less a chicken. And if you are a chicken, which way would you rather go, Nando's or KFC? I think the answer is Nando's, because he represents the core of the product in an amazing way. And most great leaders do that. And then the third is this task we all have in a country that is drifting, is innovation. You know, learn from everyone, copy no one. Get out there and see the extraordinary things that are being done all around the world. It's this innovation role. Destroy the organization. Because how we've got in the room is not how we're going to get out of the room. And if we don't have the courage personally to think about that as we look in the mirror to say, am I just a manager going to meetings? Or am I someone who really takes responsibility for the outcome? This country has built amazing businesses over more than a century. We need a new generation if we're going to deal with the social challenge of having left 20 million people behind. The roads are slippery, there are lots of potholes, and the traffic lights aren't working. And I'm not talking about driving. I'm talking about where South Africa is. We've got a huge amount to do and a lot of muscle to do it with. Let's go out there and do it some more.